Bro, what's that, brother? Oh my god. Stop dripping. Cold. Scary. It's not a clickbait. We will talk about how to talk to a girl. It's not a clickbait if it's real. And it's not fake if people actually need it. Because I see some of y'all and y'all are struggling. Okay, I'm trying to disconnect. Okay, give me a minute. I just need to put this on my face, and I'm right there with you. Usually it takes people a long time to come to my channel. I didn't think it's gonna be this quick today. So wait. Okay. Okay. I'm a dude. See my mustache? It's bigger than yours. Oh my god. Are you a girl? Is this even a question? Didn't realize I was giving dude vibes early. Oh shit. I mean before, not early. My English is suffering lately. It happens. Language is a skill that needs to be constantly used. I hardly use it anymore. So it's struggling. Okay, well this is not going to get absorbed. I look horrible. Mustache. Okay, so talking to girls. What a science project, eh? Well, guess what? It's not. And it shouldn't be. And it shouldn't have to be. Because when it starts to become like that, then somebody, or one of you, is at fault. Because why is talking so difficult, you know? It's something that happens spontaneously. It's effortless. You don't need to plan it. Well, you can plan it if you want, but don't expect it to go the way you had in your mind, the way that it went in your mind, because, well, real life is real life, right? And also, okay, enough of this. Also, when you talk to a girl, okay, there's a very important thing to keep in mind when you talk to anybody, is that you don't want to be the person that says everything, because if you say everything, the conversation ends, right? So I don't have any examples, but in a conversation, in a topic, there are so many like points, or for example, if you're talking about advantages or characteristics of something, you should not say or give away everything. Like, don't talk about, I don't know, the benefits of rose water, for example. This thing, for example, has five or four things that it does. Make sure you mention two, even though you know all of them. Make sure you only mention two so that the other person you're talking to has something to add to the conversation. Otherwise, if you say everything, then the person just sits there like, yeah, you're right. And that kills the conversation because the other person has nothing to grab onto to continue talking about that same topic, right? So we always want to leave people a room where they can grab on. It's like a loose string that they grab onto so that the conversation goes somewhere else. I realized this in my channel early on is that the more mistakes or fallacies I said, I used to be wrong on purpose because it meant I'm getting more comments. That made people talk. But if I was correct on everything and I said nothing wrong, people that agree with me are not going to add anything to the conversation because they agree. It's like if you have 1,000 people that watch you and said nothing, those people are agreeing with you. The people that disagree with you are going to leave you a very hateful comment, and you're going to know that they're disagreeing with you, okay? And so make sure to always leave like something for people to grab onto to continue and to sustain that conversation. Sometimes you can even lie or say something that is such an obvious fallacy, right? That it's just funny. For example, let's say, oh, last Wednesday the sun was blue. It's like, huh? The sun was not blue. What do you mean? I was outside on Wednesday or Sunday or whatever. The sun was not blue. Oh no, but I saw it as blue. And you can just not lie, but like say something that is so obviously wrong that it just gets, I don't know, a chuckle or a giggle. And it's obviously not the truth. But it still takes the conversation somewhere. And it's a little quirky and a little cutesy. And it can even be an inside joke with time. And yeah, that conversation could repeat itself and again get another laugh out of it, right? And so it's just one of the ways to make a conversation continue. And so there are a lot of pointers that I can give, honestly. And if we want to start talking about like body language or things like that, for example, eye contact, do not maintain eye contact that is too long because that is intimidating to a lot of people, especially an introvert. Personally, when I talk to people, I look away because I don't like meeting people's eyes. I start getting distracted by the details and I lose my train of thought. And so I just look away and talk about something. And again, do not give as many details as possible because you just end up messing up the entire conversation. Because you say everything, and then what is there left for the other person to say? Yes, I see, I understand, I get it. Oh, you're right. So that doesn't really like make a conversation last. And then of course, if you don't say everything and the person still doesn't reciprocate, like doesn't give more informations on their end, or doesn't really make the conversation continue, and that happens like 4 or 5 times, and that person is not interested in talking to you. One other thing is when you want to talk about something, right? So you have this topic on your mind that you want to share with the other person. You don't just start gushing out everything again. What you do is that you ask the person first about what would they do in that scenario, right? For example, um, I wanna let's see. Okay, I wanna raise my kids in China. I don't. But it's just an example. I want to raise my kids in China because, Chinese system is so good, and it's a growing country, and it's a rising superpower. It's still cheap. There's a lot of good things, right? And so you ask the other person. No, I want to talk about this topic, but I'm not going to talk about it until I ask the other person, hey, where would you like to raise your kids, right? So you make it about the other person before you make it about yourself. And maybe you can even get like information out of that person that is, it tells you more about themselves, and you see how the person thinks. And it's like, hi, hey, you, where would you like to raise your kids if you could choose any place in the world? And they start telling you here, there, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, something. And then you start telling them about yourself. Like if they're cautious enough, if they're polite enough to ask you, where would you like to raise your kids? Now that I told you where I would like to raise mine. And then you can start talking about it, and then you are sure that you have their full attention because they asked you now. And so now they are interested in what is your point of view on the topic, right? And that just makes the conversation way smoother, makes it happen naturally, even though it's not natural, especially you listening to me here. But still, like, you need to give the effect that it's natural. And the goal of a conversation is to sustain it and to make it happen for as long as possible. And for both parties to feel heard, to feel not to feel stupid, and to feel taken seriously. And that won't happen if you say everything that you leave the other party nothing to say. Like, they're just gonna have a blunt face. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. Not good. That's not what we want. What we want is the other person getting excited and also opening up more and starting to talk about their end of their point of view and their perspective. That is usually the goal. And yes, don't always make it about you. First, make it about the other person. Like, you make the person feel welcome. They feel safe to talk. Do not give like the judgmental vibe. And so do not criticize everything the person does. At least not in the beginning. Like, get comfortable, then start criticizing. You can just start criticizing off the bat, because that just sets off a bad preface for the future conversations to continue. And so do not judge how they talk, do not judge how they pronounce certain things. If their grammar is bad, just put up with it for a while. Don't correct them on lingual stuff. And if you don't agree with their perspective, exactly, like, you're not supposed to agree with everybody on everything. That's why it's an opinion. It's personalized. And your experience, your lived experience, is not the other person's lived experience. So you can't just jump in and judge. And sometimes it's good to hear the other person's arguments and how they're arguing for something. And you can tell, like, is this person in the right mind, or are they a retard? And so it's very useful that you hear people out and don't stop them by criticizing them. Let them finish. Then if you have like a good pointer that you would like to add, or a what's that word? A constructive critique, right? Then you can, let them know, I don't think what Hitler did was right, and you're completely wrong on agreeing with him. Like, it needs to actually be good and generic enough that most people can agree with it. And that's also a way, it like also gives you, how does that person's brain work? Are they completely biased, or towards one thing that is like an extreme, or is their thinking mild? Is their thinking like com it has common sense. Does this person have common sense? And that's really what you want in a person, is common sense. Because if people are just so brainwashed to an extreme, then you can't really talk to them. Those people are just happier being in their own bubbles, for social echo chambers that they don't want to hear you out. They don't care what you have to say. Okay? Well, these are just some like basic pointers, and I'm saying this because I'm seeing clients of mine like not being able to continue a conversation. Like, you're talking, and sometimes you send me the screenshots, and it's like, what happened here? This is a conversational disaster, you know? So you need to just keep these pointers in mind when you talk to somebody, and also make it like an easy environment for the other person to talk. I don't care how alpha you are. I don't care how dominant, whatever you are. You need to make it feel welcome for people, especially women. Like, why are you aggressive to women? Even in a conversation, even in your voice, even in your tone of speech, you need to make a person feel welcomed, and that it's okay for them to talk, and that they're not gonna get harassed by you. And you don't even have to talk as a dude for a girl to feel harassed. That's the problem. It's so meta that a lot of guys don't feel it, and it's the feeling part that's really embedded in the person, the way they look at you, the way they feel comfortable to talk so aggressively to you. And by aggressive I mean direct, not like violence. I'm talking directly. There are ways to mitigate how to say something harsh, how to criticize somebody without being directly criticizing them. Like, there are ways to do that. I don't know if I have to say all of them, but yeah. So the tone of your voice, the way you look at a person, like if you give them a stink eye, or the faces you make when you talk to them, the way your body moves when you talk to them. Especially with people like with ADHD, it goes both ways in a way that they're so fidgety. Like they move so much that it's like, hey, are you with me in this conversation? Because when you talk to somebody, there's like a flow, and there's like a harmony that needs to happen, and that harmony needs to be so good that you're just sat there and like you're mesmerized and you're concentrated and you're focused. If a person is not synchronizing their body language and they're not harmonizing with you energetically, a girl can feel that. And so the conversation just doesn't go anywhere, because you just feel like stopping the conversation. You feel discouraged because you're giving out this energy and there's nobody to receive it. You might make sense. I know a guy's brain is different. I'm trying to explain these things as best as I can. So yeah, eye contact, make sure that it's not for too long, because it can be a little scary sometimes. Or you can look, and if the other person is looking away or blinking too much, you know that they're nervous and that they're not comfortable. And so that's when you might want to like add a pointer or two, agree with them, disagree with them, and just make them feel safe, and that it's okay to say these things. What you're saying is, it's right, somewhat right, I agree, I disagree, and give your input, so that from there the person can know where the conversation is going to go. I don't know, am I an introvert, am I smart, or am I autistic? I pay attention to all these things. So yeah, I don't know, I hope these pointers were good, that they're helpful. And one thing about conversation is that it needs effort. It needs effort. It doesn't just happen. It needs effort. So you can't just expect one person to carry an entire conversation. It takes two people to tango. Okay, I'm sick of this. Oof. So it takes two people, right, to keep a conversation flowing. So if one person stops talking, the other one starts talking, or that person starts talking twice. Like they finish what they're saying and they start another topic to talk about. You can continue, and it can happen in every scenario you could think of, but just don't let the conversation be handled by one person. Other watch videos, be knowledgeable, have a global mind. Don't just think within your religious group, social group. What's the other one? Financial group, sure, yeah. Because sometimes rich people say some things that are like whack. And it's like, okay, I don't know anything about that. I'm not of that financial status. But if you break it down to a poor person, like, hey, this is how you do this, as a poor person, and if you want to buy, like, I don't know, like a private jet, this is it takes a lot of paperwork, and it's different than if you just want to buy, like, I don't know, a Beetle or a bike. It's not the same paperwork. It's not the same process. It's not the same shops. It's not the same experience. Do bike shops even have coffee lounges? And that keeps a conversation flowing. And sometimes a person is so interesting that you just sit there and listen to them. But again, they feel like they're doing all of the talking and that you are not interested. Even though they are so happy to gloat and boast, but still you're not doing anything, you're just sitting there. So that makes the person feel like, well, there's no compatibility. Of course, if they're like egotistical, then they would be like, oh, I loved it because I just sat there and talked about myself, which is not good. You don't want to be with those people. Oh, I'm gonna start talking here. I feel like I said so much. Just bombarding you with informations. And so if you guys have anything you want to add, let me know. I think I'm just gonna go back to do some work. Oh, we're gonna go back to doing some work until I see messages coming up. And I know this is boring. It is boring, but it's necessary. Oh, by the way, my book is back on, I don't know. It's back. And I didn't know that Etsy wasn't working. Clearly, Etsy had suspended my shop because I tried to delete it last time, but then I gave up in the middle of the process. But as soon as I got back in, they were like, oh, you're actually suspended, remember? Suspended yourself. And so I deleted that one and created a whole other one. So yeah, it's back. There's a link in my community tab if you want to take a look at it. And yeah. Does this stuff actually work? My last video got like, I don't even know how many copyright. I don't know why. Like, too many copyright strikes, so we're not. I can't do anything. I can't work because it's online. And I need the internet to keep this stream up. I'm actually tired. I think I'm gonna go. I just hope that these pointers worked, honestly. Sorry, are effective and are understandable. Yeah, that's all I want. for them to be understandable, applicable, and just keep them in mind every time you're talking to a new person or you're talking to a somebody you just met. Okay, well, I'm gonna end it here. It's 20 minutes. Anybody can come back and watch it. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you for coming. Bye bye.